hold on. You can't even see me. Hello, hello, and welcome
Mm.
everybody to another episode of Forex Focus, where we talk all about mastering the art of trading with a strong mindset. Today's episode is all about trading fatigue, getting mentally exhausted with our trading. What does that look like? What starts it? How do we identify it? And how do we work around it? Who is with me today? Please let me know in the comments if anybody is with me today. Uh, as you guys can see, I am by myself. Normally, I am here with Nick, but Nick is sick. Nick is sick. So it is just me today and whoever decides to come join me. But even if no one joins me, the show must go on, darlings. So we will proceed with the discussion at hand about mental fatigue and trading. If you have been trading for any amount of time, you will know that at some point you get pretty exhausted. And a lot of the times that frustration, can stem from a lot of various things. For a lot of traders, obviously, it can stem from just struggling with getting the results that we wish to see, especially if you're struggling for any amount of time. Um, and if you're not careful, if you're not paying attention, you don't realize how mentally tired, fatigued you get, and how that can impact other aspects of your trading, or how it is presently impacting your trading. Um, so that is something that I wanted to talk about. And of course, it's something I've lived through and I've experienced. So I'm going to dive right in. I'll give a couple more minutes for traders to join. For traders to join. All right. So let's talk about mental fatigue or trading fatigue, right? Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's think about some common causes of mental fatigue in our trading and how they differ from physical fatigue. Hmm. I wish Nick was here, but mental fatigue, I think of it as in coming in different forms, right? So um one way that you can identify that you're starting to get mentally exhausted is that you're making decisions under pressure, and you're making decisions pretty consistently or constantly under pressure. Or maybe you feel like you have a little bit of information overload, whether it's from your charts, um, news releases, different things like that. I feel like this happens a lot when you're a new trader, because already you are thinking about all the different things uh, that you have to learn as a new trader, right? And you can get quite overwhelmed from just all the information. So, just information overload, emotional strain. Obviously, this is the big one. Is getting emotionally strained from our wins and our losses. Um, Unrealistic expectations, uh, or over trading. Um, you start to overtrade, right? And then I guess this starts to kind of go into our physical aspect, right? We start to lack sleep or taking breaks. I'm personally taking a break in my trading right now. I've been on a break actually for a couple of weeks, because I felt like I needed it. And, eventually I'll get back on it. But I really just felt like I needed a break. And because of some of these things, right? Some of these things. So, um, unlike physical fatigue, right? We're talking about how mentally our attention span gets impacted, our reaction time gets impacted. when we're mentally fatigued. So, what does that look like? That means when we're trying to execute a trade or trying to take a trade, and we are not executing our trades in a timely fashion, right? We're kind of, lagging maybe in our reaction time to entering or exiting trades, our emotional or our inability to regulate our emotions, right? We're always letting our emotions get the best of us, whether we are in anger, lashing out at what's happening, and not just lashing out, I don't know, with ourselves, or I don't know if anybody here has ever broken a computer screen. I once got so angry that I punched my computer screen and I broke it. So, yeah. So not being able to regulate your emotions or even just not being able to think clearly and adapt to market changes. So you might feel physically fine, but you're still finding yourself making poor decisions because your brain is worn out. Things are getting a little bit cloudy, and so you're a little worn out. So as traders, how can we identify the signs of being worn out, right? The signs of our brain being worn out or just foggy. Uh, Hi, Nick. Oh, it's so lovely to see you here with me. Why would I punch my screen? I mean, I wasn't punching my screen to make the trades. I was punching my screen because I wasn't making the trades and I was mad. But that was years ago. I have since then evolved and I have since then matured and grown. Yes, sir. All right, Nick, how can traders identify the early signs of overload before it affects their decisions? Hmm. Early signs. Analysis paralysis. Um, Analysis paralysis. Maybe you are analyzing the charts and you're looking at the charts, but you are not taking action. You know, you're not taking action. You're not executing the trades. That is a form of analysis paralysis. Um, Irritability, so frustration over the smallest price movements. Especially price movement, even the smallest price movements that are going against your original analysis of what you think the market was going to do. Um, second guessing, second guessing yourself and your plan and your strategies. Uh, Nick, you're welcome to drop anything in the comments at any point in time. Let's see what they. So this is from Nick. I think it's when you can't really make a decision, especially in consolidations. So sometimes you gotta wait and be patient till the charts prove to you where they want to go. So would you say, Nick, that falls under analysis paralysis? You know what I'm saying? Like, would you say that it falls under, I don't know. Yeah, like you're not making a decision at all. But I guess the waiting to see what the market is going to do and just going with riding the wave, right? It's kind of like, ooh, it's kind of like when you're surfing and okay, he says, yes, it does fall under analysis paralysis. um, so that's kind of like, when I think about surfing, right? Because when you're a surfer, you got to go out into the ocean, you got to turn your surfboard around, then you got to wait till you start seeing the wave approaching. And then you start paddling and paddling and paddling. And then you jump up on the board And then you just ride that wave, baby, and you ride that wave until you can't ride it anymore. So I guess that's how that's how I think of trading. I think of trading like surfing, and I am not a surfer. I do not surf, but that's definitely something I think about. Um, mm, so I guess that I mean, we could check it early by doing regular mental check-ins. So, um, I, I'm a fan of doing mental check-ins. I do them for myself, which is why I'm taking a break right now because I was feeling mentally fatigued. And it wasn't just from my trading, it was from a plethora of things, right? We've had episodes where we talked about how even personal life situations can really impact us as traders. Um, so some questions we can ask ourselves can be, am I following my trading plan or am I reacting emotionally? Am I making decisions that are reactive? Do I feel confident or am I just restless and anxious? Like, do I feel confident in sticking to my strategy or do I feel anxious or restless to just trade and get a result? To just trade and make my profits. Um, I had an interesting conversation today with a trader, a female trader in our community. And one of the things that she said is that traders really underestimate risk calculation when executing trades. And the focus is a lot on how much money they can gain, but not enough on how much money they can lose. And I found that comment to be so fascinating, but also so true. And I say that a lot myself is yes, it's very easy to focus on how much money you could potentially make. But man, are you really calculating your risk? And shifting our mindset to be more focused on that, right? Um, Also just checking in with ourselves and asking ourselves, am I reviewing the same charts over and over without any clarity? Without any clarity. Um, Self-awareness is your superpower. Ooh, I think I mentioned that last week too. Knowing yourself as a trader, being so completely self-aware, and how powerful that can be in your trading. Um, so okay, so when it comes to mental fatigue, we understand what causes it, right? Some things that can cause it. Um, Whether we're always feeling like we always need to make constant decisions or we are overwhelming ourselves with too much information, right? We're overcomplicating the process, or we're giving ourselves unrealistic expectations. And in those unrealistic expectations, we compare ourselves, right, to what other people are doing, how other traders are succeeding, and we expect ourselves to succeed the same way. So these are things that we could be doing that can um, cause mental fatigue for us in our trading, especially if we're not getting adequate rest, right? How do we identify that? By the decisions that we're making, by how irritable or frustrated we're getting, whether or not we trust or are disciplined with our strategies consistently, right? Um, are we being impulsive? Are we chasing our trades? Are we resting in receiving, and letting it come to us? Just like when riding the waves of trading of surfing, we wait for the perfect wave to come to us. So are we doing that in our trading? So understanding these things, what are some practical tools or habits that we can use to kind of restore our mental clarity? Nick, do you want to share? um, I would say s- this is my favorite one, and that is taking a break. Sorry. I have been feeling that yawn coming on for the last 15 minutes. So it finally came out. Um, Believe it or not, I would even encourage traders to look into breathing exercises and meditations around breath work. Um, there is a YouTube channel that I like to follow called Breathing with Sandy. He has very simple 5 minute, 10-minute breathing exercises. But the reason why that is so important is because it really helps to regulate your nervous system. And that in regulating your nervous system, you can reduce your stress levels and bring yourself from being mentally overworked to being more in a calm, relaxed state where you could really focus more clearly. So, some people don't really believe in breath work, but breath work is actually starting to be even, I would say, implemented inside of different forms of therapy, um, and meditations also too. So I'm just saying, breath work, nervous system regulation will help tremendously with that. Um, I would even say, uh, Nick, you could say something. I'll give you a moment to engage. I know there's a lag time because you know. But what is a practical tool or a habit that can help reset a trader's mental clarity during tough trading weeks? So, are you saying that a habit that they could have is risking a quarter of a percent? Is that what you're saying? So, are you saying like develop a habit of reducing their position size? I just want to till you gain confidence again. Okay. So, Nick is saying reduce your position size until you feel confident in your trading. I think maybe because that's tied to reducing how much your losses are. So when you're losing less, it doesn't impact your psychology as badly. Um, of course, I always say that, but I wasn't more so talking about being in a losing streak. I was just saying when you are struggling with your mental clarity. And struggling with mental clarity can come from a variety of different things. Um, but definitely, if you find that you're getting mentally fatigued because you are losing a lot, it could be helpful to ask yourself, am I getting mentally fatigued just because I'm losing a lot of trades and I don't have a good win ratio? Or am I getting mentally fatigued because I'm not only losing trades, but I'm losing a lot of money from losing these trades, right? If the answer is I'm losing a lot of money, then it could help absolutely to reduce your position size because the less money you lose, the less it'll hurt and the less it'll impact your psychology, I think. Um mm. How does trading fatigue influence risk management and emotional control? Hmm. Well, I would say that if you're emotionally or mentally exhausted, tired, um, you are going to have very clouded judgment and you are not going to be able to make clear decisions. So, in you not being able to make clear decisions, you will do things like over leverage. You will do things like be less patient with your setups and not wait for the perfect wave, for the wave to come to you. More so, you're chasing it. as opposed to waiting for it. Um, you're going to be more emotional about your losses instead of being detached from the outcome and also your drawdowns. You got to be detached from the outcome. I know that is very difficult, but that is something that you have to become a master of. Um, and another thing is you're more prone to revenge trading. You're more prone to jumping in and out of trades without the right confirmation. So these are some of the things that trading fatigue can lead you into doing. Um, in short, when you're mentally drained, your discipline begins to weaken and your risk management oftentimes will go out the window. And so, even though it might start off as a small mistake, oftentimes small mistakes do snowball into bigger mistakes over time, especially if you're consistently making the same mistakes. So, believe it or not, resting and taking a break is a really great risk management tool. Your being fatigued isn't something that should be seen as a sign of weakness. If anything, it should be seen as a sign of as a warning, you know, listening to what's going on inside of you and paying attention to your emotions. Your emotions are a really great indicator of what's going on. Um, so Nick, what do you think? Do you think taking regular breaks or time off can actually improve someone's long-term performance? And how should traders plan that into their routine? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think, well, you already know what I think. You already know what I think. I'm sorry, y'all. I am tired today. I need to take my vitamins or maybe a shot of espresso. I don't know. So, can taking regular breaks or time off improve your performance long term? Absolutely. Absolutely. Taking time off to reflect and re strategize can definitely help tremendously. It's not a luxury. I would say it is a performance strategy. Honestly, every time that I have taken a break for any amount of time in my trading and I came back stronger every single time. And sometimes that is all you need is just to give yourself a break. And taking that time off will do a few things for you. It can help you to recalibrate your decision making, it can help you reconnect with your strategy and even your life outside of what you're doing as a trader. It can help you gain some perspective, especially after you've been on a losing streak. Um, so those are a few benefits to taking a break. And, you can definitely plan them out. You can schedule them in advance. Even when you're not going through anything, maybe you could just be like, you know what? Even when you're doing really well, I would even say taking a break when you're doing really well and you're on a winning streak could be beneficial so that you don't get overconfident in your trading and then go crazy because you think you're the best thing since sliced Wonder Bread. Uh, Weekends, obviously a great time to take a break, depending on what instruments you trade or having specific no trade days, right? Some traders only trade Tuesday through Thursday. They take off Monday and Friday. They don't trade, things like that. Definitely, if you've been having a rough trading week, take a day, take a couple days just to relax. I would even take a couple days, just not even think about trading, before coming back and taking a look at your journal and seeing how everything, and kind of getting recalibrated. So yeah, resting needs to be a regular part of being a successful trader. and it's okay to rest. It's okay to rest, guys, with anything, honestly, whether it's trading or anything else. Um, that is something I'm learning myself about the power of rest. Sometimes the best results come when you do a little bit less. Sometimes less really is more. Nick, is there anything that you would like to add? No, definitely. Nick says rest, but don't give up on the goal. I completely agree. It's not about resting is not about giving up on your dreams or your goals, right? I think the longest rest I ever took was like 2 or 3 years. I never gave up on trading. I just felt like I just needed time away. And then when I came back, I was doing great. So, um, obviously, I'm not saying take a 3-year break. Everybody's different. But even if it's just a couple days, even if that's still very helpful. All right, traders. Well, thank you for tuning in and joining me on this discussion about mental fatigue. What is mental fatigue, right? What causes it? What are some warning signs that can let us know we might be getting a little exhausted and burnt out? And what can we do to kind of recalibrate to get back to ourselves and dive in? If you got any value from this today, make sure that you give us a thumbs up and you leave us some love in the comments. And if you're not already subscribed, be sure to do so. Subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can be notified when we do go live again. Should we go live again? But other than that, I'm just going to say stay sharp, keep a winning mindset. And remember, with Forex Focus, success is just one trade away. Thanks so much, guys, and we will see you around.